Dear invitees, dear people from Ghent, let me begin by welcoming you in turn to this solemn opening of the academic year. Most of you know each other, especially after the Vice Rector told you to look left and right in the aula. And I'm sure you're all familiar with this beautiful Aula Academica as well. But still, such a solemn opening is a very special event each year. And the new year awaits us, and no doubt surprises await us as well. We will discover new things, innovations are in the pipeline. And we will marvel as well. We will do things we always do, and as we always do them, but still differently. Last year I explained here what Ghent will look like in 2050, and I told you that we know what we want by 2050, but that we did not yet know exactly what the path towards it would be. Which steps we all still have to take, and what exactly should and will happen when, we shall discover together. That's what I said last year. And every year we discover a piece of that pathway. And so the question arises, where are we now? Last year I mainly talked about what Ghent will look like in 2050. And today I want to focus on what we will do to realize that, to be and remain a university that matters in the years to come. Our university has made remarkable progress in a number of areas in recent years, and we've shown that we dared to take bold steps. We introduced an innovative career model for our professors, in which not only excellence in research but also merit in education and social involvement are valued, by recognizing them and by rewarding them. This vision has caused a change, both within and outside Ghent. We translated our vision into concrete regulations and career paths, not only for professors, but for all employees of our university. Are things perfect now? Are we where we need to be? No. No, we have to remain critical, even for what we do ourselves, and the bar must be set high, even and especially for policymakers like myself. And so yes, improvements are still possible. The way we supervise and evaluate people imposes a big task load on those who evaluate. And we need to keep thinking about whether, and if so, how, we can reduce that task load without, though, turning supervision and evaluations into a formality. On the contrary. After all, everyone benefits from good supervision and high quality evaluations. At a university in particular, the ambition should be not to be easily satisfied in this respect either, and to always strive for the best, as long as it stays within the margins of what is feasible and what is reasonable. Another policy we're proud of is the recent introduction of core funding for research. A lot of colleagues have since made it known that they think the introduction of core funding is an excellent idea. Many colleagues support the idea that all Ghent professors who meet the agreed criteria for research activity should be able to count on a minimum of non-competitive funding, so that our researchers can spend more time on their own research instead of competing with each other to apply for funding. But I know that there are also colleagues who are concerned because in the future they may receive slightly less funding from our special research fund than they have so far received through the competitive BOF funding channels. And I understand that concern, and I draw an argument from it to make the case once again to the Flemish government that universities should be adequately funded. During our Dies Natalis celebration earlier this year, I already focused on this in particular. And I still stand by what I said then. By the way, all rectors of all Flemish universities explicitly plead for a correct and integral application of the existing funding decree. That is the key point in the memorandum that the VLIR, that's the Flemish Inter-University Council, drew up with a view to the elections in 2024 and is currently submitting to political parties and other social actors. And why do we do so? Well, because we continue to hope and even believe that in the end the government too is serious when it states that scientific research, higher education and social services are crucial foundations for our prosperity. And I quote from the VLIR memorandum. Successive and continuous cuts have resulted in universities and polytechnics collectively receiving 349.5 million less in core funding since 2008 than they were entitled to under full application of the decree-based funding mechanism by 2022. Of this, around 136 million euro originates in the 2020-2022 period, namely 97.6 million euros under indexation and 38.6 million due to deferred clicks and the deferred growth paths. End of quote. These figures cannot be denied, ladies and gentlemen. They are crystal clear. And I could quote even more figures, but I won't. For the record, these are not Rick van der Walle's figures. I did quote literally what is written in the VLIR memorandum. They are the figures of the rectors of all Flemish universities, of all their administrators and of all their financial directors, and of the many, many employees who contributed their knowledge and skills to collect and analyze those figures. I dare say, and I hope the colleagues, rectors and vice-rectors won't be annoyed by that, but I dare say that UGent Ghent has taken the lead in the debate on higher education funding, and something like that only succeeds when you can count on the knowledge and skills of a lot of staff. And so let this be a tribute to the many employees of our central administration who have given me, the administrators and the directors, input with their excellent analyses, and I believe that the importance of this can hardly be overestimated. In that context, I would also like to draw your attention to the action organized by the unions on the 11th of October. Let me be clear, I welcome the fact that on 11th of October all trade unions are organizing a joint demonstration in Brussels, which essentially calls for a correct and integral application of the existing funding decree, not only for UGent but for all universities and polytechnics. It's up to UGent staff and students to decide for themselves whether or not they will participate in that demonstration. Whether I will do so, I do not know yet. And I'll be honest, many know that I'm not very keen on demonstrations. I feel more comfortable at negotiating tables. But I do know this: the union's demand for adequate funding for universities and polytechnics is a legitimate demand. A very legitimate demand indeed, and I fully support that demand. At the same time, and that also has to be stressed, at the same time I call on trade unions and their representatives to always disseminate correct information, including within our own university. Dear people from Ghent, the new academic year brings a new future for our central administration, a future in which connection must become key, not only within the central administration itself, but also between the central administration and all of the faculties. Let's face it, too often the central administration talks about those in the faculties, and the faculties talk about those in the rectorate. We need to get rid of that dichotomy. We should perhaps speak to each other more often than about each other. There's only one University Ghent, and that includes all the faculties, and the whole of the central administration is also part of that, obviously. All Ghent staff and students, they belong to it. The new academic year will be a crucial one for our university, a year that will break boundaries, a year in which we will shed our skin, in which we will redraw ourselves, a year in which we will seek to strengthen existing connections and build new ones, a year in which we will build stronger bridges between the central administration and the faculties, a year in which we will make Ghent future-proof, as it's called. Finally, a year in which Ghent will have to prove that in times of necessary restructuring and reorganization, it can also deal with its staff and students in an understanding and caring manner. Dear people of Ghent, I will link an appeal to this. Actively help build this bridge between the rectorate and the faculties. And I've made it a mission, a task. So I've made it a mission for myself to strengthen that bridge. Also, make it your mission to remove obstacles between people and entities within our university. There's an important bridge building role for each and every one of you here, including you, therefore. So let us all take up that role together. The University of the Future is a university where everyone contributes to our excellent teaching and innovative research. A university where we do not work on separate islands, but where we work together, even more so than now is the case. A university where we recognize each other's expertise, both in the faculties and in the central administration. A university that, above all, is based on trust, linked to responsibility. Finally, also a university that turns its gaze to the world and wants to be not only a local player but also an international player. A university that forms students and researchers and then sends them out into the wide world as Ghent graduates. It is estimated that Ghent has about 300,000 graduates here in Flanders and spread across all continents. These alumni belong to the university as much as our current students and staff. They are our most important ambassadors. Their professional success is a touchstone for our programs, living proof that our teaching and our research meet the highest national and international standards. They are our liaisons with the field. They assist our programs in defining curricula, providing internships, supplying topics for master's thesis. They cooperate with us in the field of research and service. And it's through their efforts, the efforts of our ambassadors and our graduates in influential and often leading positions, it's through their efforts that the Ghent University has an impact and helps shape the world. What unites our alumni is their shared memory of a rich student life, but their remarkable loyalty to their alma mater can also be explained, and I'm convinced of this, can also be explained by the afterglow of remembering the drive, enthusiasm, dedication and expertise of their teachers and mentors. At an important moment in life, namely at the onset of adulthood, our students come into contact with the critical attitude, scientific thinking and the pursuit of perfection that characterize an academic education. A world opens up to them, that of the independent pursuit of truth, that of individual intellectual responsibility, and perhaps most of all, that of wonder. In this way, a way of thinking and an attitude are formed at Ghent that continue to have an effect long afterwards. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the deeper meaning of the one-liner I often utter. Once a Ghent person, always a Ghent person. So to a large extent, Ghent fulfills its social mission by sending out 300,000 outstandingly educated graduates over the years and generations to shape, wherever they work or live, to shape the Ghent spirit of independent thinking and social commitment. And they do so in Flanders and abroad, near or far. And that is important, because in the era we are in, internationalization is not just an option. It has become an essential part of our university's core tasks. That's teaching and research. Internationalization is an indispensable link to properly fulfill these core tasks. In 2023, we can no longer realize our full potential without a strong emphasis on internationalization. And speaking of internationalization, next year the Flemish government, together with quite a few partners, will organize a major innovation and inspiration festival under the banner of Flanders Technology and Innovation, FTI. It will be launched in March, just before our own Dies Natalis here at the Ghent Winter Circus. And I think this is a wonderful initiative, and I hope that following the example of FTI in the 1980s and 1990s, it may be the first of many editions. I'm also proud. I'm proud that it's being launched here in Ghent. Ghent owes this to many actors in and around the city, but also very much and even significantly it thanks this to the presence of our university here in Ghent. And so Ghent owes it to you, dear Ghent people. What I dislike is that the I in FTI only stands for innovation. And don't get me wrong, of course I think innovation is important. But in 2023, the innovation landscape has become even more international than in the 1980s and 90s. And so I would have preferred us to organize something like FTI squared next year, Flanders Technology and Innovation International. After all, innovation cannot take place without internationalization. It can't be done at Ghent, and it can't be done in Flanders. Our view must therefore be broad as possible. We are an export region and a knowledge economy. That means we thrive on talent. We have to aim for an I square in everything we do. Innovation and internationalization. And that square, well, I can immediately elaborate on that for our university. I'm pleased to announce that in 2024 we will open a branch on our campus in South America with substantial funding from the South Korean government. We'll open a branch of Marine at Ghent, and this will further strengthen and expand our South Korean campus in Incheon. Marine at Ghent is, I dare say, a unique knowledge cluster. 80 research groups spread across 10 faculties, and meanwhile over 500 researchers from different fields such as oceanography, marine biology, maritime law, archaeology, social sciences and engineering. All of them work together on research and development projects in marine sciences. South Korea is a peninsula with a huge coastline and a very large marine biodiversity, which is particularly interesting for high-level marine research. And with Marine at Ghent, led by Professors Colin Janssen and Jana Asselman, Ghent has years of expertise in research in marine and maritime sciences and technology. And the broad expertise and level of excellence of Marine at Ghent now forms the basis for the new research institute to be set up on our campus in South Korea. And that's something very special. I'm sure that this initiative will not only strengthen our activities on and around our Ghent University global campus, but also the impact and charisma of our university as a whole. Another field I would like to draw your attention to is that of artificial intelligence. Some say, how can we honestly evaluate students now? ChatGPT is doing everything for you. AI thinks better than you. It's over with our universities. AI is taking over from us. Well, those are statements that you sometimes hear. And no one doubts that artificial intelligence is a game changer, but I'm convinced that the change of the game does not have to lead us to perdition, quite the contrary. It's clear that AI is here to stay. AI is not something we can just ignore. It brings a powerful and promising technological revolution that can dramatically improve our lives and help solve many challenges. And we are only at the beginning of that AI revolution. As a university, we must actively incorporate its capabilities and impossibilities into our policies and regulation. AI is a powerful tool that we need to understand, use and integrate into our operations. Our university-wide optional topic on artificial intelligence is a step in the right direction, but I believe we can go further. How do all our teaching and research activities relate to AI? It is a question we should take seriously because the impact of AI will be profound and widespread. It is a question we will only be able to answer if we involve all stakeholders, staff, students, the professional field, the partners we work with, national and international authorities. We need to understand not only how AI works, but also how we can use it to explore new possibilities in different fields, from medicine to the environment, from arts to science, from economics to philosophy. We need to use AI ethically and responsibly, paying attention to privacy, equality, and social justice. Step by step, based on scientific understanding. Our Faculty of Public Health Sciences wants to focus on the research of artificial intelligence in healthcare, and rightfully so. And I quote the policy of the faculty: the potential of artificial intelligence in public healthcare cannot be ignored. It offers endless possibilities to improve patient care, increase efficiency, and save costs. End of quote. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of our societal task. It requires us to do more than just understand AI or be users of it. It's part of our social mission, not only to experience AI, but also help shape it. We have to make sure that AI works better, becomes safer and more reliable. And it's not just us, academics and knowledge institutions, but we also have to make sure that not just we benefit from it, but society as a whole. That should be our ambition, and we are able to achieve this. A thriving future for our university, with innovations in research and teaching, with a central administration and faculty that are closer together, with more cooperation, including across the national borders. Let us face this period of change with open hearts and open minds. Together, ladies and gentlemen, we will build on our successes and our commitments to excellence in teaching, research, and service, public service. Ghent University may look to the future with great confidence. Thank you.